Rin Calder stood at the very back of the Great Hall, trying not to draw attention. He was small, fresh-faced, and new to the Academy of Interstellar Peacekeeping. The hall stretched higher than any building on Earth, with golden lights reflecting off the polished walls. Dragons, enormous and proud, filled the seats near the front. Their scales shimmered like liquid metal, and their eyes glowed softly, observing everything. Humans and other species filled the remaining rows. Rin's hands felt sweaty inside his gloves. He was only a cadet, here to learn, to observe, and to follow orders. But today was different. Today the Dragon King's heir, Prince Kalen, was to swear an oath in front of the council. Only the best warriors and diplomats ever stood this close to him, and Rin had been assigned as a junior attendant, a lowly human in a sea of majesty. The ceremony began with a deep hum that vibrated through the floor. Dragons spread their wings slightly, a sign of respect. The air was heavy with tension. Rin tried to focus, to memorize every detail, but his mind wandered. He thought of his mother, who had always said, "Courage is doing the right thing even when no one is watching." Rin had never imagined a moment like this, and yet he felt her words stir inside him. Then it happened. A sudden surge of power shook the hall. The energy conduits along the ceiling sparked violently. A loud crack echoed as a beam of raw energy slashed toward the prince. Everyone froze. Guards moved, but not fast enough. Panic spread like fire through the hall. Dragons hissed and growled, some spreading wings defensively, others recoiling. Humans screamed and ducked. Rin did not think. He only acted. Something inside him surged, a combination of fear, instinct, and the memory of his mother's words. He ran forward, faster than he thought possible, throwing himself between the beam and the prince. His small body tumbled across the floor, catching the energy with a shielded arm. Sparks scorched his sleeve and heat seared his face, but he held his ground. The beam dissipated harmlessly against the cadet's protective gear. Silence fell, broken only by the low hum of damaged energy conduits. Prince Kalen blinked, stunned. The dragons turned slowly, their glowing eyes fixed on Rin. Every single being in the hall seemed to weigh the human standing before them. The head of the Dragon Council, a massive dragon named Therian, stepped forward. His golden scales glimmered under the light, and his voice rolled like thunder. "Who is this human?" he demanded. The question was not angry, but it carried authority that made every spine stiffen. Rin gulped. He barely remembered how to speak. I am Rin Calder, sir," he said, voice shaking. "I'm just a cadet." Therian's gaze did not waver. "And yet you stood in place of the heir. Explain yourself." Rin's heart pounded. He was in danger. "I didn't think about rank or size. I just moved." His words sounded weak even to him. But the truth had a weight that could not be denied. Prince Kalen, still seated, looked at him with wide eyes. "You saved me?" he asked, voice trembling. "Why?" Rin shrugged, unsure how to answer. "Because someone needed to. I didn't want him hurt." The room held its breath. Dragons, who had lived for centuries, stared at him in silence. Rin realized for the first time that they were not used to anyone acting without concern for power, rank, or gain. He had done nothing heroic by their standards. He had simply followed a human instinct they could not fully understand. Medics rushed forward, checking Rin for burns and injuries. He winced, but he waved them off. "I'm fine," he said, though his arm throbbed. The prince stepped down from his platform, looking shaken but unharmed. He approached Rin, his hands trembling. "Thank you," Kalen said simply. No ceremony, no flourish. Just words, honest and quiet. Rin felt his stomach twist with relief and pride. He hadn't expected recognition, and yet here it was, from the heir himself. Therian's eyes softened slightly. "This human may be small," he said to the council, "but he has done what many of our warriors would hesitate to attempt." Murmurs ran through the dragons. Some whispered, some shook their heads as if trying to reconcile centuries of belief with what they had just seen. Rin felt a strange weight on his shoulders. He had acted alone, but the consequences of that action were already rippling outward. He could feel eyes on him, measuring him, judging him, and perhaps respecting him. For the first time in his life, he understood that courage did not come from strength, skill, or lineage. It came from the choice to act when it mattered most. The ceremony resumed, though the air remained tense. Dragons watched the prince more closely, and humans looked at Rin with a mixture of admiration and disbelief. Some whispered his name, others simply stared. Rin did not know if he wanted attention, but he could not hide. Not now. As the oath concluded, Prince Kalen approached him again. I don't know your world, human, he said quietly, but I know this. You acted when others could not. I will remember it. Rin nodded, unsure what to say. His mind was racing, trying to grasp what had happened. He had only wanted to protect someone, and yet he had awakened a storm of curiosity and quiet respect. He felt the eyes of the dragons again, and this time they were not hostile. They were studying him, trying to understand something foreign. Something human. For Rin Calder, the moment no one expected had come and passed. He was just a cadet, barely trained, but he had stood in a place where fear ruled, and acted. The hall remained grand, the dragons proud, and the humans awed. And somewhere deep inside, Rin realized that this was only the beginning. The galaxy had noticed, and the consequences of one simple choice were only beginning to unfold. And in that silence, the first ripple of human courage spread, quiet, unnoticed by many, yet impossible to ignore for those who saw it. Rin Calder lay on a soft cot in a small chamber, his arm wrapped in his uniform singed in places. He tried to rest, but the events of the ceremony replayed in his mind like a storm he could not escape. Outside, the hall had returned to normal. Dragons had resumed their discussion of politics and war, humans whispered quietly among themselves, and the prince had returned to his private quarters. But for Rin, the world had changed forever. The door opened and a figure stepped inside. It was Captain Morgan Hale, a human officer from the academy. Her face was calm, but her eyes betrayed curiosity. "Cadet Calder," she said. "The council wants to speak with you. They are interested." Rin sat up slowly. "I'm fine," he said, though his voice sounded small in the empty room. "I don't understand why they would want to see me. I only did what anyone should do." Captain Hale shook her head slightly. "Humans may act for simple reasons," she said, "but dragons rarely see anything simple. You've done something that makes them question everything they know about us." Rin frowned. "Question what?" "Courage," she said. "Loyalty. Honor without fear of consequence. They don't understand it. That is why you are not in trouble." The words confused him. In his world, humans risked themselves every day in small ways and large. But dragons, Rin realized, were creatures of power, of age, of long memory. A human acting without concern for status, rank, or survival was almost unheard of. When they arrived at the council chamber, Rin felt his legs tremble. The dragons were seated, massive forms filling the room, each one older and larger than any creature he had seen in his life. The council members stared at him, their eyes glowing faintly. Therian, the head of the council, leaned forward. "You have not yet explained," Therian said, voice like a deep drum. "Why did you not flee? Why did you stand where others would run?" Rin swallowed hard. I didn't think," he said honestly. "I just moved. I saw someone in danger and I tried to stop it. I don't know why. I just did." The dragons were silent. They looked at one another as if weighing his words against centuries of knowledge. Some whispered in low tones, a language that Rin could not understand. He felt the weight of their scrutiny and wondered if he had made a mistake. Prince Kalen entered quietly, standing beside the council. He did not speak at first, only watched. His eyes held something different now, respect, yes, but also curiosity. "This human did not run," Kalen said softly. "I have faced danger many times and I always expected someone to protect me. But he moved before anyone else could act. He did not think of glory. He only acted." The council murmured. Some dragons shook their heads. One council member, a female named Lysara, spoke in a sharp voice. "Humans are clever, yes, but fragile. Their instinct is survival, not bravery. This one is an anomaly." Rin felt his heart race. "I'm not an anomaly," he said quietly. I just wanted him safe." Therian leaned back and let out a slow breath. "Perhaps," he said, "we have misunderstood your kind. Perhaps the measure of a being is not only in strength or weaponry, but in the choice to act when the moment demands it." The words filled the room like a wave. Rin realized that the dragons were not mocking him. They were trying to understand something foreign, something human. He felt a strange pride, not in himself, but in the idea that a simple choice could ripple through generations of creatures older than the stars themselves. Prince Kalen approached him again, kneeling slightly to meet his eyes. "You do not know how dangerous it was," the prince said softly. "I have lived in palaces with armed guards and dragons at my side. None of them moved first. Why did you?" Rin shrugged. "I don't know," he admitted. I just thought it was the right thing. Someone needed to do it." The prince considered this, and for the first time, a small smile touched his lips. "Humans are strange," he said. You act without thinking of yourself, without expecting reward. That is rare. The council members continued to study him, their glowing eyes shifting with curiosity and doubt. Rin felt a wave of exhaustion. He had acted on instinct, but now he was the center of attention in a room of ancient beings who measured life by honor and power. Captain Hale stepped forward. "Cadet," she said quietly, "they may be slow to understand, but this is significant. The council has never given such attention to a human. You may find yourself remembered for a long time." Rin's stomach twisted. Remembered? He had not acted for recognition. He had acted to protect someone in danger. But now he realized that recognition was not something he could avoid. Sometimes choices carried weight beyond intention. Hours passed. The council debated quietly, speaking in low tones that even the prince could not fully hear. Rin waited, listening to the soft hum of energy fields and the occasional creak of the chamber walls. He wondered what the future held. Could humans truly earn respect from dragons? Could simple actions matter in a galaxy dominated by age, power, and ancient rules? Finally, Therion spoke again. "The human does not flee. He does not ask for glory. He does not bend to fear. Perhaps he is worthy of observation. Perhaps the measure of courage is not in size or strength, but in the act itself." Rin's heart leapt. Observation? He had not expected this. He had expected punishment, perhaps ridicule, maybe even dismissal. Instead, the dragons were considering something new. Something he had not known he could offer. Prince Kalen nodded slowly. "I will not forget this, Rin Calder. You have shown me that the world is larger than my walls, larger than the rules I have always known. Perhaps humans have much to teach us yet." Rin felt his chest swell. He had not sought praise. He had only acted. Yet in doing so he had opened a small door not just for himself but for all humans. Perhaps dragons would see them differently now, not as fragile beings but as creatures capable of courage, honor, and choice. As the council rose to dismiss him, Rin realized the truth of it. He was small. He was human. He was a cadet. But one choice, one moment, had changed how a galaxy full of ancient beings viewed him. And somehow he knew this was only the beginning. Outside, the hall was quiet again. Dragons walked gracefully, wings brushing the floor, their long tails curling behind them. Humans whispered softly among themselves, glancing at the cadet who had done what no one expected. Rin took a deep breath. He had not run. And in standing still, he had already begun to teach the universe something new. Rin Calder woke slowly. The light in the room was soft and golden, spilling from tall windows that framed the sky of the star station. At first he thought he was dreaming. The air smelled faintly of smoke and metal, and the room felt warmer than the hall where the ceremony had happened. He tried to move, but his arm throbbed, reminding him of the energy beam he had faced. Rin groaned softly, opening his eyes fully. That's when he saw them. Dragons. Dozens of them, tall and massive, filled the chamber. Their scales shimmered in shades of gold, silver, and deep blue. Some of them leaned on long claws that dug lightly into the floor, while others hovered slightly, wings tucked but alert. They were not moving toward him. They were simply watching. Rin swallowed hard. His heart beat quickly. He had faced dragons before in simulations, in stories, in holographic training exercises. But none had ever felt this real. None had ever been this immense. "Cadet Calder," said a voice that was deep but calm. Therion, the head of the council, stepped forward. His golden scales gleamed, and his eyes glowed with quiet authority. "You have awakened. Good. We have waited to hear from you." Rin rubbed his eyes. "Waited? For me?" he asked, voice small. "Why?" Therion inclined his massive head. "We have questions, human. You acted without thought for your safety. You moved where others would freeze. You protected the Dragon King's heir. This is unusual. We wish to understand why." Rin's mouth went dry. I didn't think. I just did what I felt was right. He was in danger and someone had to move. I didn't expect anything in return." The dragons were silent. For a long moment, only the soft hum of the energy fields filled the air. Then Therion spoke again. "You are unlike any human we have studied. You do not act for gain, for fear, or for power. Your choice is pure." Rin blinked. "Pure?" he repeated. I'm just a cadet. I didn't do anything special." Prince Kalen appeared at the far side of the room. His robes shimmered in the soft light, and his face held a mixture of awe and curiosity. "You are special," he said softly. "I have lived my whole life surrounded by guards and warriors. None of them moved before danger touched me. But you acted immediately. Without hesitation. Without fear. Rin felt his cheeks flush. I didn't think about that. You are human, Kalen said, stepping closer. And yet you remind us that courage does not always come from size or strength. It can come from instinct, from choice, from the heart. The dragons shifted slightly. Some lowered their heads, others leaned in, wings brushing the ceiling. Rin felt like a mouse in a den of giants, yet none of them were hostile. They were curious, studying him as if he were a strange puzzle they could not yet solve. Therian stepped closer, and the air seemed to vibrate with his presence. We have observed your kind for centuries, he said slowly. We have read histories, observed patterns, and yet, none have acted like this. Humans are clever, yes, but cautious. You are unpredictable. Rin swallowed hard. I don't feel unpredictable, he said. I don't run when someone needs help. A small ripple of surprise moved through the dragons. One of them, Lysara, a silver-scaled dragon with amber eyes, spoke. You would risk yourself for another without fear? Without reward? Rin nodded. Yes. I didn't think about reward. I only thought about stopping him from getting hurt. The room was quiet again. Then Kalen walked to stand beside Rin, placing a hand lightly on his shoulder. This is why I want you near me, the prince said. Not because I need protection, but because your presence teaches something our world often forgets. That courage is not measured by power but by the will to act. Rin looked at the prince, then at the dragons around him. I don't know what to say, he admitted. You do not need to speak, Therian said. Your actions have spoken for you. For the first time Rin noticed how still the dragons were. They did not move, they did not hiss or growl. They simply stood watching him. Their silence was not threatening, it was full of attention, of consideration. The weight of it was heavier than any weapon. Prince Kalen led Rin to a small platform in the center of the room. We wish to understand you, Kalen said. Your courage, your instinct. How can one so small, so young, move without hesitation when others tremble? Rin looked down at his hands. I just do what I think is right, he said softly. I don't think about size or strength. I just see a need and I move. The dragons murmured quietly among themselves. Their voices were low, melodic, and full of meaning. Rin did not understand their language, but he felt their words as waves of thought. They were debating, questioning, and yet, slowly coming to understand. Therian's deep voice filled the room again. Perhaps this is the lesson we have overlooked. That courage is not always measured by scales or claws. That strength is not always seen in size or teeth. That honor can be quiet, invisible, and yet unshakable. Rin's chest swelled with a strange mix of pride and fear. He had not done this to impress anyone. He had only acted. And yet, here he was, standing among beings older than stars, making them reconsider centuries of belief. Prince Kalen looked at him with admiration. You may be small, human, but your heart is large, he said. Perhaps you will teach more than any scholar or warrior could. Rin felt a warmth spread through him. He had survived, yes. But more than that, he had awakened something in the dragons. A recognition that humans could be more than fragile creatures. They could be brave, honorable, and full of surprises. The room remained quiet. Dragons moved slowly back to their seats, still observing. The prince stayed close to Rin, whispering words of encouragement he did not fully understand. For the first time, Rin felt that he belonged, even if only in the eyes of beings who had never seen a human act like him. And in that quiet, golden chamber, Rin Calder realized that the moment he had feared most, the moment he had stood alone, was only the beginning. The galaxy was larger than he had known, full of giants, mysteries, and choices. And somehow he understood that one simple act, one brave decision, could ripple farther than any weapon, any spell, any battle. He had woken among giants. And for the first time he did not feel small. Rin Calder stood quietly in the council chamber, the weight of the dragon's gaze pressing down on him. The hall was enormous, its ceiling lost in shadows, and the golden light from the energy fields gave the scales of the dragons a soft glow. Every dragon in the room was older and larger than anything Rin had ever imagined. They were still watching him as if waiting for something more than words. Therian, the head of the council, leaned forward, massive claws resting on the edge of the raised dais. Cadet Calder, he said in his deep rolling voice, you have acted in a way none of our kind would dare. You did not seek glory. You did not consider rank. You protected the heir without hesitation. That is unusual. Rin swallowed hard. I didn't think about that, he said softly. I did what I thought was right. Prince Kalen stepped closer, his hands folded before him. You have shown courage where many would fail. But now there is a choice to be made. One that has never been offered to a human before. Rin frowned. A choice. Yes, Therian said. You may return to your world, to the academy, as if nothing has happened. Or you may remain here, close to the Dragon King's heir, as a shield of trust. This role has only ever been given to dragons. It is a position of honor, duty, and constant watchfulness. Rin's heart pounded. A shield of trust, he repeated. The idea was overwhelming. He was only a cadet. How could he stand beside dragons, acting as a protector for a prince? Kalen stepped even closer, lowering his voice. It is not just protection, Rin. It is respect. A chance to show your world, your people, that humans are more than they seem. To show that courage can come from anyone, anywhere, at any time. The dragons murmured quietly, their voices low and melodic. Lysara, the silver-scaled dragon, spoke up. This human has already taught us something. His presence changes the air around us. We have watched him act and we have seen honor in motion. If he remains, it will set a precedent none of us can ignore. Rin's mind raced. He had acted once on instinct to save the prince. That action had earned the attention of dragons older than any star. And now they were offering him a role he had never dreamed of. He felt the weight of the moment. It was more than recognition. It was a responsibility, a challenge, and a statement to the galaxy about what humans could do. Therian's eyes glowed softly. The choice is yours alone. No one will decide for you. You may return to your academy and live quietly, or you may stand here, among us, and shape a new understanding of your kind. Rin looked around at the dragons, at the prince, at the quiet watchers who had observed his every move. His chest tightened. He thought of his mother's words. Courage is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. He thought of the moment he had stood between the beam and the prince, not for reward, not for honor, but because it was the right thing to do. He took a deep breath. I think I understand, he said slowly. I don't want glory. I don't want rank. But if staying here can help, if it can show them, show everyone, that humans can act with courage, then I want to stay. There was silence. Even the dragons seemed to pause, as if the choice had shifted the balance of the room. Then Prince Kalen nodded, a small but genuine smile on his face. You are wise beyond your years, he said. Your presence will teach lessons no history book could. Therian inclined his massive head. So be it. Cadet Calder, you will take your place as shield of trust. You will remain near the heir, and in doing so, you will demonstrate that honor is not bound by scale, claw, or age. It is bound by choice. Rin felt a surge of pride mixed with fear. He was small. He was human. He was inexperienced. And yet, here he was, given a role that carried immense weight and responsibility. The dragons did not see him as small now. They saw him as someone who could stand, unflinching, beside them and command respect without violence. Lysara stepped forward, her amber eyes shining. We will watch you closely, human. Not because we doubt you, but because we wish to learn from you. Rin nodded. I will do my best. Kalen clapped a hand gently on Rin's shoulder. Do not worry about perfection, he said. You need only act with heart and the rest will follow. The council slowly began to rise, moving back to their seats. The chamber, which had once felt overwhelming, now felt like a place of possibility. Rin stood in the center, a human among giants, aware that his choice had created a ripple of understanding across centuries of tradition. As he looked around, Rin realized something profound. Courage was not measured in strength or scale. Respect was not earned through fear or domination. Honor could come from a simple act, repeated not for reward but because it was right. He had acted once. Now he had chosen. And in that choice he had redefined what it meant to be seen, to be trusted, and to be respected. Prince Kalen's voice broke the silence. We will begin your training soon, he said softly. Not because you lack skill but because there are lessons only dragons can teach and only humans can learn. Together we may discover something new about both our kinds. Rin felt a small smile form. He had expected fear, perhaps rejection, maybe even ridicule. Instead he had been offered a chance to stand, not as a pawn, not as a student, but as a bridge between two worlds. He glanced around the hall once more. The dragon's eyes glimmered with curiosity, respect, and something like admiration. They were giants, yes, but their respect was silent, patient, and absolute. And for the first time, Rin understood that honor could be felt, not forced. It could be given, not demanded. I will not fail, Rin said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. I will show them. I will show the galaxy what humans can do. Therion's deep voice rumbled in agreement. We will watch, human. And in your courage, we may learn what our long lives have forgotten. Rin felt a strange warmth spread through him. He was small, yes, but in this moment he felt larger than he ever had. He was a cadet, yes, but he was also something more. He was proof that one choice, made without fear, could ripple farther than any blade, any shield, or any rule. And as he stood there, surrounded by dragons and beside the prince he had once saved, Rin Calder realized that he had not only found his place, he had redefined what it meant to be respected, and what it meant to be human. The chamber was quiet again, but in that quiet, Rin could feel it. The first ripple of change, the slow understanding of two worlds meeting, and the beginning of something neither humans nor dragons could have imagined alone. Rin Calder stepped onto the observation deck of the star station, looking out over the glittering expanse of space. He could see distant stars, small planets, and the trails of ships moving slowly between worlds. It was quiet here, almost peaceful, but Rin knew that the galaxy was changing because of him. He had not sought this, not even dreamed it, but one small human cadet had made dragons rethink everything they believed about courage and honor. Prince Kalen approached, his robes flowing softly in the low gravity. You have done more than you know, the prince said. Even the council talks of you now. The story of a human who acted without fear has spread faster than I imagined. Rin shook his head. I didn't do anything to spread a story. I just moved when I had to. Kalen smiled faintly. That is exactly why it matters. You acted without concern for fame or glory. That is what makes this story powerful. Even dragons who once doubted humans now watch carefully, wondering if their judgments were wrong. Rin's thoughts drifted back to the moment he had protected Kalen. The hall full of dragons, the hum of energy, the sparks flying, the silence that followed, it all felt like a lifetime ago. Now he was a shield of trust, a human standing in a place no other human had stood before, close to dragons who could crush him if they wished, yet chose to respect him. Do they really understand us? Rin asked quietly. Kalen nodded. They are learning. Slowly, yes. But every day they see you, every decision you make, every act of quiet courage, it teaches them something new. They are beginning to understand that humans are not weak, not fragile, not predictable. They are capable of honor. Rin looked at the dragons in the room. Some sat high on platforms, observing. Others paced slowly, claws making soft sounds on the floor. All were watching him carefully, their eyes glowing faintly. He realized they were not there to intimidate him, they were learning, studying, reflecting. Their silence was a kind of attention he had never known before. Outside the chamber, across the galaxy, the story had begun to spread. Word of a human cadet who had acted without fear, who had saved the Dragon King's heir, reached ships, stations, and planets. Humans on distant colonies whispered about it, proud and astonished. Aliens shared the story in council halls, sometimes with disbelief, sometimes with respect. One small action had created ripples across light years. Captain Morgan Hale entered the room, carrying reports and messages from other worlds. Cadet Calder, she said, smiling softly, you are now known beyond our stations. People are talking. Humans, dragons, and others. They are asking, what else can humans do? Rin felt a strange mix of pride and worry. I didn't mean for that. I just acted. I didn't want attention. Hale shook her head. That is exactly why it matters. No one expected a human to act so bravely without thinking of reward. That truth carries farther than any battle or victory ever could. People respect what comes naturally, what is honest. You are teaching the galaxy what humans can be. Prince Kalen placed a hand on Rin's shoulder. You have shown me that strength is not only in power. Honor is not only in bloodline. Courage is not measured by size or skill. And the dragons, even the oldest ones, have noticed. They may not say it in words, but their understanding is growing. Rin looked down at his hands, remembering the energy beam, the fear, the instinct that had made him move. He had not acted for honor or recognition. He had acted because it was right. And now, somehow, that small choice had begun to reshape opinions across a galaxy full of beings far older and stronger than him. A soft sound made him glance up. Lysara, the silver-scaled dragon, stood nearby, wings folded neatly. Her amber eyes regarded him with something like curiosity and quiet respect. You are unusual, she said slowly. Not just in courage but in heart. The galaxy may not yet understand humans, but through you, we are beginning to see what they can be. Rin swallowed. I only did what anyone should do, he said softly. No, Kalen interrupted gently. Not anyone. You did not hesitate. You did not consider fear or consequence. That is what makes you remarkable. The moment was quiet, but it carried weight. Rin realized that he had become more than a cadet. He had become a symbol not because he wanted it but because he acted when it mattered. The dragons had begun to see that humans could be brave, honorable, and true, not just clever or adaptable. And slowly the rest of the galaxy would learn the same lesson. Outside the observation deck, ships continued to pass between stars, unaware of the small human who had started to change minds and hearts. Rin watched the trails of light, thinking about all the worlds he had never seen, all the beings he had yet to meet. Somehow he felt connected to it all, not because of power but because of choice. Prince Kalen spoke again, his voice soft but firm. The galaxy may not notice immediately, Rin. But your courage will be remembered. Not as a tale of fame or battle but as a quiet truth. Humans are capable of honor. And that is the lesson that will endure. Rin felt a strange warmth in his chest. He had not sought recognition. He had not sought glory. He had simply moved when he had to. And in doing so, he had quietly changed the way dragons, humans, and other beings would think about his kind. The dragons stirred, shifting their weight, wings brushing the floor softly. There was no applause, no cheering, only the subtle, quiet acknowledgement that Rin Calder had acted with courage, and that courage had taught something new. Rin looked at Prince Kalen and smiled faintly. I guess I have more work to do, he said softly. Kalen nodded. Yes, but your work is not only yours. It belongs to every human, every dragon, every being willing to see courage where it is least expected. The galaxy will quietly learn through your actions what humans can be. And in that quiet observation deck, surrounded by giants and stars, Rin Calder understood something he had never known before. One small act, one brave choice, could echo farther than any weapon, louder than any shout, and more profoundly than any law. It could teach respect, inspire honor, and quietly change the way the galaxy looked at a single human cadet. He took a deep breath, feeling the vastness of space and the weight of what he had begun. He had awakened something powerful, something subtle, something enduring. He had shown that humans, even small and inexperienced, could act with courage that giants could not ignore. And in the galaxy's quiet, steady way, that lesson began to spread.